Go Jackets.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another WreckTalk video. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I appreciate all the support and views. And I see that a lot of people really enjoyed the Jeff Collins video I put out last week. I didn't start my channel until the week after Jeff Collins had been fired. I had been thinking about doing this for a while and just never got around to it. Once Collins was fired, I thought, well, hey, now is as good a time as any. There's going to be more people watching Georgia Tech videos than probably have and ever. So thought it was a good time to get into it. I saw a lot of people in the Discord complimenting my Jeff Collins impression. And to that I say, guys, I really appreciate the recognition for my impression. I prepared at a very high level and with consistency. Now, I know that there are some mistakes that I made in the accent in very pivotal moments throughout the video. And we're going to fix those things. Okay, we're going to fix those things. But for right now, we just need to show the channel some love and support. I'm going to put that last video to bed this weekend. I'll review it. And we'll move on to the next video. And here we are at the next video. Now, I did see some people were like, hey, we need to move on to better things. And I get that. It's just that I really missed an opportunity to talk about Collins because I wasn't on YouTube when Collins was the coach. And I do a pretty legit Collins impression because really our voices are kind of the same kind of base level, so it's not much different than my natural voice, which I hate to admit. So with that being said, I wanted to flip the script. A lot of the worst of Georgia Tech we talked about in the last video. Now I want to talk about the highs of Georgia Tech. So I want to do the top 5 Georgia Tech games that I've witnessed since I've been watching Georgia Tech seriously. So really from like 2008 up was really when I was big and started getting really big into watching Georgia Tech. Earlier than that, I was kind of too young. I was an adolescent, so I wasn't as in tune with things. Also, guys, we've got big plans for the channel. So I've already made some sizable investments and things for the channel, like the interviews that I did. If you haven't seen the interviews with Clayton Powell, Lee, and Zach Pyron, go check those out. I need to actually put them on Spotify too. More on that in a second. And thankfully I did get donations that help pay for that. And I appreciate everyone that's donated to the channel. That was a huge help. When I move, which is going to come up next month, I plan on making some other investments to the studio, to the equipment. As much as I like messing around with Adobe Premiere, I'm not, some proficient editor. So I have now hired an editor. We're going to be working on new background, new intro for both live shows, the Georgia Tech live show and the WreckTalk live show, a new channel logo. And among some other things, channel banner. There's a ton of things I'm going to pay to have done. I've got a custom Georgia Tech like fight song beat track that I've paid to have done. Suffice to say, donations are greatly appreciated. They help grow the channel, and they allow me to do a lot of cool things that I might not otherwise do. Now, if you want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link in the description and there's a CashApp link in the description. Also, you can become a member. It's $5 a month. Gives you some custom emojis in the live chat. I know the live chat's very active during the live show. I will also make a custom members community post where you'll get information on videos that are coming out or things that I'm thinking about doing that aren't in the Discord or anywhere else. You'll also get to make a suggestion for a video that I will do. I'll pick one of them that I like the most, and we'll do a video, 1 or 2 videos a month based on that. And right now there's no members. So for everyone that's saying, why don't you do this or that video, become a member, and you'll be the only suggestion I can take. We'll take your suggestion. Also, I'm becoming more active on Twitter. I'm trying to do like a Twitter post every morning, give you a little good morning from WreckTalk, what I got going on. That link is in the description. Also, a lot of you have asked, WreckTalk, why are you not on Spotify? You know, I love listening to you, but I don't want to listen to you on YouTube. It'd be way easier if I could do it on Spotify, and I've been resistant to that. But good news, everyone. All WreckTalk live shows will now, from now on, be put on Spotify. I didn't put the last one on because my microphone was all messed up, which has been remedied now. But all live shows from here on out will be put on there, and every video that I do that makes sense to put in an audio-only format will be put on there. So I know I'm on Spotify, and I think I'm on other major podcast platforms as well. Like, I keep getting notifications that say I'm getting views on other platforms. When I set this up, I just said, hey, put it on every podcast platform you'd like. So for a fact, I know it's on Spotify. That link is in the description as well. You hear me say it all the time. The descriptions of the videos are actually important. Also, if you want to have merchandise, I haven't talked about that in a while. There's a merchandise link in the description if you want the WreckTalk shirt, the WreckTalk hat. I think they look pretty good. Let's get prepared for the season. Get the WreckTalk Army showing out for these games. If I see you at a game with the WreckTalk gear on, I'll definitely come have a conversation with you. And even if you don't and you see me at a game, I'd love for you to come up. I love talking to guys that watch the video. So with that, let's get into the top 5 Georgia Tech victories that I've seen since I've been serious about watching Georgia Tech football. Number 5 is going to be the Miracle on Techwood Drive. Not the Miracle on Techwood Drive, I'm sorry. Miracle on North Avenue. There's two Miracle end zone Tech victories. So this is 2008. This is Paul Johnson's first year as head coach. And I remember this, like we were all a little bit sus on this, or a lot of people were. We're like, well, I guess Paul's going to bring the triple option to Georgia Tech. We'll be the only Power 5 program that's running the triple option. That's generally something that's only run by service academies and like smaller schools. For instance, like Army, Citadel still run the triple option. He came from Navy, had success at Navy. But we're like, well, he had a ton of success at Georgia Southern, won 2 national titles at Georgia Southern. Let's see what we're getting. Now, Paul did have the benefit of having a top 10 recruiting class given to him by Chan Gailey from the 2007 year. This is a class that had players like Josh Nesbitt. I believe Bebe Thomas, he might have been the year before. Jonathan Dwyer, Roddy Jones, just Michael Johnson, Derek Morgan, ton of stud athletes that ended up having pretty good NFL careers out of this class. And Paul made the most of it. So his first year he comes in as coach of the Flats, and we had never beaten Florida State. In fact, there's a sordid history of back in the BCS days of Bowden running the clock up, double reverse halfback passes when they're already up by 30 to try and move up in the rankings, because part of the BCS rankings were like margin of victory. I know a lot of people like Bobby Bowden. I really don't care for Bobby Bowden for that reason. Also, Bobby Bowden is kind of the mindset of like a player gets in trouble where you would generally suspend them for a game. And Bowden's outlook was, well, I mean, why would I punish the rest of the team for his mistake? I ain't sitting them out. And then his protege Jimbo Fisher was not far behind with like some Jameis Winston nonsense. But coming to this game, we'd never beaten Florida State. Definitely hadn't beat them at home. Florida State was an absolute powerhouse. This is before they had fallen off a cliff after Bowden had left. And a hard-fought back-and-forth game. Florida State's on their final drive of the game, basically like a 2-minute drill coming down. They're down 31-28. So Georgia Tech 31, Florida State 28. Them scoring this late in the game is probably going to win it for them. And we actually get them in like a 4th and long. They end up converting on a slant route. And they're on like the 7-yard line, 6.5-yard line. Going to run it in to score and ice this game. And, oh, buddy, wasn't meant to be today. Paul Johnson had something to say about it. And let's check it out.
Lead in the 4th quarter, and is there a jinx on Georgia Tech playing Florida State? They've lost 12 straight to them.
Yep.
Smith back in there now. 1st and goal at the 7. And it's Smith just wrapping both hands around that football.
It's the next play.
Got down.
3rd in the nation, and they've gotten 2 more here today. What they need now.
Miracle to not at least go to overtime, but Florida State's thinking about winning it right here.
I don't think Florida State's sitting there thinking about, let's tie this thing up.
That's what I just said, Paul.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. There's no way that they would ever do that.
Little tension between hosts.
Hoping they could score the touchdown.
Marcus Sims in the backfield. Gets the call. He fumbled. Georgia Tech trying to cover it. Who's got it?
Woo, baby. Let's go.
Georgia Tech.
Heck with Florida State. There you go. The Miracle on Techwood, or Miracle on North Avenue. Now, it's called a Miracle on North Avenue because in that south end zone, it seems kind of oxymoronic, but that's actually North Avenue behind that end zone. Techwood Drive is behind the north end zone. That's the end zone with that's the tallest. Yeah, and I remember watching that and thinking, man, like, we might have something special going on, and ended up being right because we ended up winning our conference the next year, which we might talk about a little later. So, speaking of winning our conference the year, the 2009 ACC Championship is number 4 best game that I've seen as a Tech fan. And this is a team that our very own Mojo Productions Joe Gilbert was on, and we're actually going to see him in the clip. So it's kind of amazing. I hadn't really thought about it in a while, but in Paul's second year as coach for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, ends up winning the ACC Championship. So, proved a lot of haters wrong, had a really, really good season. And this was like we ended up beating Clemson. This was Clemson before they had really reached the heights of college football. This was when Clemsoning was still a thing. And they were kind of in the same boat that Georgia was in for so many years with the 1980 thing. Clemson often had really, really good teams, really, really good players. In fact, it might be this team where they had like Ford Spieler and another guy that were all like 4.3 speed guys. They also had Taj Boyd, who I could be wrong, had the most like all-purpose yards or throwing yards for a quarterback in ACC history. We end up getting in a knockdown drag out with them in the 2009 ACC Championship. Able to get a victory. So let's check out number 4, the 2009 ACC Championship. And who is this guy right here? Is that Mojo? Is that Mojo Productions right there?
At the Tiger 15-yard line. Right now, the only thing that would really make the plans.
You see this number 10 in the ranking next to Georgia Tech. Boy, those were much better days, weren't they?
For Georgia Tech go awry is turning the ball over.
That's right. And so I'm sure Paul Johnson told his team when they had him on the sideline there, get what you can get and get down. Protect the ball, because Clemson's only shot right now is to pull the ball out.
The 13th play of the Georgia Tech drive. Dwyer to the outside. Dwyer! Touchdown!
Man, he was good. There's Roddy Jones. I think that was Gilbert coming in at the end. What a great song. Da, da, da. And I think that's Spiller, actually, right there. Also, that kid, I think he might have had like for a while, had the most all-purpose yards in ACC history. But I'm looking forward. Joe Gilbert says he is gonna to start the season. That first show will have his ACC Championship ring for us to see, so that'll be a treat. But man, what a great season, a great time to be a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. And we're not going to talk about the nonsense surrounding this. I'm not even going to get into it. So, number 3, greatest Tech game I've seen since being a fan is the 2014 Orange Bowl. This was another. There's going to be more than one game from that season on this list, I can tell you that. This was a season that we just kind of put it all together again. Ended up getting a crazy come from behind victory against Georgia that year. And the common thread with all these teams, this is something that Brent Key, I love that he's been saying while he's been head coach, is getting back to playing with toughness. Just being a tough, kind of agitated, chip on your shoulder player. Looking back at that 2009 ACC Championship team, like Josh Nesbitt might be one of the most hard-nosed, tough quarterbacks. That I think was the game that he fumbled. Florida State picks it up, and then he rips the ball back to get possession back. Like he recovers his own fumble after Florida State had gotten it. Just tough kids, Now, we play Mississippi State in this 2014 Orange Bowl. This is a team where we had Darren Waller. Shout out to Sea-Dog. They both have the same high school alma mater at North Cobb. And Sea-Dog had actually reminded me with Darren Waller. I'd forgot about the difficulties that he had with like drug addiction and just some really significant personal demons, and my heart goes out to him, because most people that get into the thralls of addiction and that kind of thing, they don't kick it. They don't maintain some semblance of sobriety, and it looks like he's in the NFL. Probably he's definitely top 5 tight end in the league. Ultra successful. Love to see the redemption stories, and I love to see that one of our very own is doing well and overcoming. So, but great player, Justin Thomas, which as far as a systems quarterback, just one of the best you're going to find, one of the best just athletes that Georgia Tech has ever have. He was actually a 4-star recruit, but he was, Alabama wanted him as a cornerback. Georgia Tech's, Paul says you can come here, play quarterback, and just had blinding speed. So let's check out 24. Oh, also Mississippi State. This was a Mississippi State team that at one point was ranked 2nd in the country this year. They come into this game ranked 7th. This is a team that had a really, Dak Prescott has ended up having a pretty good NFL career. I mean, this was a really good Mississippi State team, and we handled them. Really, this game was never in contention. I remember St. John Days ran all over them. Justin Thomas ran all over them. Darren Waller caught passes all over them. I mean, it really wasn't all that competitive. So let's check out the 2014 Orange Bowl.
6 first downs already for Georgia Tech. When we throw it, we mean it.
got away with pass interference there.
Georgia Tech.
What a player Darren Waller is. Just great game. Handled it from down one, but always great to get a New Year's 6 victory. And I always think it's funny, that guy just yelling pass. He knew it was a pass. Pass! Pass! Anyways, so number 2. And I mean, I almost wanted to put this number 1, but number 1 is just, I don't know that it will be beat anytime soon as far as just thrilling victories. But number 2 is the kick in the pick. 2014 Georgia Tech game. No one really gave us much of a chance in this game. I mean, look, Georgia has always recruited well. It's been really running back you for some time. This is a Georgia team that had like Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, and Todd Gurley, I want to say. Was Gurley on this roster? This was an absolutely loaded Georgia team. If you look at the number of players that Georgia put in the NFL this year and Tech did, I mean, it's probably something like 4-1. I mean, Georgia loaded with NFL talent, and that's really why no one gave us much of a chance in this game. We're playing at Sanford Stadium. I was actually in Alabama watching this game because it was around Thanksgiving, and there was some questionable things. I remember Justin Thomas running into like the middle of a pile with the ball. The play, like he's in that pile for what seemed like 4 or 5 seconds. No one blows the whistle. Eventually, like some Georgia player rips it out and runs it back, and it's like, man, like when were they going to blow the whistle? That was curious. But Georgia made a ton of mistakes in this game. They, I think Sony Michel fumbled like on the one. He's about to dive into the score. We're able to punch it out. Lasky was on this team running back. Just a really tough running back. I mean, Georgia could not stop our running game. And you look at the defensive line that Georgia had, like there's no reason we should have been able to push Georgia around like we were able to up front. And somehow we were. We were able to rein in Chubb and Michelle. And it gets back to that toughness. Like, hey, we're not afraid to play these guys, like we're going to come in and hit them in the mouth. And we did. Now it's close going out toward the end. But, Georgia scores to go ahead with like 18 seconds left. ESPN, when you look, like they'll give odds of victory at, live during the game. I think Georgia had like a 98% chance of winning when they went ahead with 18 seconds left. For some reason, Mark Richt does like a sky kick. We're able to get a decent return on, which in retrospect didn't make a lot of sense. We tried to make a throw downfield. Georgia's in max protect, and Justin Thomas is able to scramble for like another 20 yards and just barely put us in to field goal range with like a 52-yard field goal. And this was before anyone knew the absolute beast that Harrison Butker is. Two Super Bowl rings on him now. So let's check it out. This sets up this 52-yard kick to send it to overtime, not even to win it, just to tie the game up. Let's check it out. The kick and the pick.
Had one blocked earlier. He is 10 of 17 on field goals this season. He is 0 of 1 on field goal tries over 50 yards. Butker marks off his steps. Rodwell will hold it. 53-yarder left hash to send this thing to overtime. Here comes the kick. It's on the way. And it is good! Butker got it! He cleared it by about a half yard, but he got it, and we're tied at 24 and destined for overtime.
What a kick!
Second.
All right, so when we hit that field goal, I'm watching the game, with my ex-wife's family. which was always nice because they're all split on Auburn, Alabama, so they don't have a dog in the fight with this, other than they're rooting for Tech because I'm there. When we hit that field goal, I start clapping and screaming, and I clapped so hard, I slightly fractured my right hand. I fractured a bone in my hand. Might be the most pumped up and excited I've been as a Tech fan ever. That I was just like, oh my God. Now I'm still worried going into overtime because generally overtime is going to favor the team with more depth. And Georgia certainly had more depth on their roster at the time. End up scoring. Georgia comes out, send it to another overtime. This is Mason at quarterback. And throws this slant route up here off the top of the screen. He's going to throw a slant right here that's just well covered. He shouldn't have held on or should have held on to this ball, thrown it away, or just taken a sack. But let's see how it plays out.
Second down and goal from the 9. 3 receivers right to the wide side of the field. Hudson Mason has thrown for 194 yards. This time, passes, and it is intercepted! It's picked off! It's picked off! It's picked off! It is DJ White who intercepted it, and the Jackets have come into Athens and stunned Georgia in one of the best football games you will ever see. For the next 364 days, the state of Georgia belongs to the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech.
What a game. What a game. No matter who you root for, that's one of the best football games you'll ever see. Back and forth, turnovers here, huge, coming from behind with 18 seconds left to somehow find a victory. And look, people might laugh at me. I know Tech is very down right now. I think we're making all the right moves to get back into it. But we can beat Georgia again. That's why we play the games. If we just did it on paper and said, oh, well, on paper Georgia should have won all these games. They didn't, right? Look what happened last year. That game was tied at halftime last year, and if we don't drop a pass, a wide open pass to Leonard, we would have been leading going into that game. Don't write Georgia Tech out. Georgia Tech's gonna win some football games moving into the future. It's all up from here, baby. And don't tell me not to get too hyped. I love Georgia Tech, and I'll get hyped if I want to. Gets me giddy looking at all these great victories of yesteryear. Number 1. Could it have been anything else? Game that I was actually at. Miracle on Techwood Drive. Now, this is an interesting one because Tech was at the lowest point it had probably been in some time. We're coming off the New Year's 6 Orange Bowl victory year, the kick in the pick year. End up missing a bowl this year for the first time in some time. I think we had won 3 games going into this. Florida State, believe, was undefeated, looking to make an ACC title run and a national title run. Had a ton of talent, and this was another hard-fought, back-and-forth game, and a game we had lost in similar circumstances to Pitt. We have a similar game with Pitt earlier in the year, and they beat us on like a 50-yard field goal. Now, at the time of this game, Florida State also had a fantastic kicker that hadn't missed in however many kicks. And we get to this point in the game, and we're like, here we go. Same thing as Pitt. Keep finding our way on the losing end of these things. And I was actually a student at Tech at this time too, and I actually saw Lance Austin walking down North Avenue while I was walking to one of my classes, and I was too embarrassed to say anything or not embarrassed, but I didn't want to bother the guy. I'm always I don't want to get in the way or bother anyone. But let's check it out.
His first attempt this year from over 50 yards. He's 3 of 3 tonight, but those were all inside of 40. From the left hash, 56-yarder, just like last week against Pittsburgh. Kick is blocked. Georgia Tech blocks it. The Jackets pick it up back at the 25, and Austin is returning it down the left sideline. Past the 50, past the 30, inside the 20. And he scores! He scores! Lance Austin picked up the block kick.
I hate Jimbo Fisher. What a loser.
We've had the miracle on North Avenue. This is the miracle on Techwood Drive.
And the students are flooding the field. What an ending.
I love it. I love it. I think it cuts off right before he goes, "What a time to be alive." Yeah, that was, man, that was something else. That was something else. Not only the best game that I've seen with the most exciting ending, but I was actually at that game, and it was something to be excited about in a season that was fairly disappointing. And it just goes to show you, like, at that time, it brings toughness back up. Like, look, this was the time when we still had Derek Moore, and he did that "we ain't dead yet" speech. Like, look, hey, things might not be going how you want to, but that don't mean you just roll over and let life kick you in the ass. No, you get back up and you keep fighting. That's what being a man's about. That's what winning's about. So I've got myself worked up, man, and we still got like 70 days to the season. I'm ready to get into it. A lot to be excited about as a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. Before we go, I will say I am 100% expect this video to get demonetized. So again, all your support and donations are appreciated. If you don't want to help the channel financially, it doesn't cost anything to hit the like button. If you got tech friends, tell them about the channel, man. Let's get this out to more people, and I'll put this on Spotify. So if you just want to listen to it, you can do that as well. Guys, you have a great week, and if no one's told you up to this point in your day, WreckTalk loves you. We'll talk to you later.